USA 9, we are committed to keeping you informed, especially when it comes to our environment and the accelerating impact of climate change.
Yeah, and today we are in St. Mary's County, Maryland, to see how a Chesapeake Bay restoration project might fare in a future that includes sea level rise, warmer water, and more frequent storms. Scientists are planting oysters there with climate change in mind. Here's our environmental reporter Scott Broom on the St. Mary's River.
If there's a bright spot in Chesapeake Bay restoration, it is oysters. The St. Mary's River here is one of 5 oyster sanctuaries in Maryland, and the darn things are growing on just about every rock and dock piling you can see here at St. Mary's College of Maryland. It's important because oysters filter out algae and clear Chesapeake Bay water.
Oysters, I feel like, are the way we're going to save the bay.
Today, restoration workers with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation were busy planting more.
You can see there's several dozen right here. They're very tiny.
Hard to see without a magnifying glass, but baby oysters from a hatchery called Spat are attached to these man-made reef structures which look like concrete wiffle balls. Bay Foundation Captain Carl Willey is excited.
Brand new babies on each reef ball. By the end of today, they'll be all in the water, cleaning up the Chesapeake Bay.
600 of these balls will be planted here with more than 100,000 baby oysters by next year or earlier.
We'll actually be able to see some of the reef balls down on the bottom.
Bay Foundation Captain Bart Jager pointed out reef balls sticking out of the muddy bay bottom. And that's important because it's layers of life-choking mud and sediment from decades of farming and development that have smothered a lot of the Chesapeake's oyster beds. They need something hard, like the reef balls, to stick to. Kelly Fiala is the restoration coordinator.
So by casting them in these kind of igloo-like structures, you're getting the oysters up and out of that muddy bay bottom. Additionally, you've got those holes in there that allows water to flow through, bringing food for those oysters on the inside and just becoming incredible fish habitats.
There's adaptation and there's mitigation.
Julie Lickey, the Maryland Coast resource scientist for the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, talked about the climate resiliency of projects like this.
These reef balls allow these oyster reefs to persist past some of the challenges of climate change, and sedimentation is a big one. The reef balls help adapt our oyster reef restoration process to include thinking about climate change and making sure that this is a sustainable reef.
Pretty cool, and the idea is to eventually get the oysters to grow on their own and build up natural reefs on generations of natural shell that will rise with the sea level, hopefully faster than sediment can cover them up. Combined, Maryland and Virginia are nearing their goal of having at least 2,300 acres of restored oyster beds on the bottom by the end of 2025. At St. Mary's College of Maryland, Scott Broom, WUSA 9.